The intensity of the Russia-Ukraine war is likely to increase due to the new developments within both countries and on the front line. With the uprising launched by Wagner Group, a private military company, in Rostov region of Russia, there was serious panic of country. So much so that Prigozhin and thousands of soldiers were advancing towards Moscow. Following this panic, anti-occupation Russian soldiers also declared their support for Wagner's boss Yevgeni Prigozhin. All these statements and actions were interpreted as the start of a civil war in Russia. But Prigozhin soon ended the war, had declared against the Russian army. Although Wagner announced his withdrawal, Russia will never be the same again. Prigozhin targeted Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shougu and Russian Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov, saying that both of them had failed in the war in Ukraine. According to him, Russian officials and commanders did not properly fulfilling their duties in the war. Prigozhin's goal was to dismiss both of them. Whether Prigozhin, who ended his war against the Russian army in the short period of time, will be able to achieve his goals will become clear in the coming days. Wagner Group boss Yevgeni Prigozhin explained that they ended the short-lived uprising as follows. They were going to dismantle PMC Wagner. We came out on June 23rd to the March of Justice. In a day, we walked to nearly 200 kilometers away from Moscow. In this time, we did not spill a single drop of blood of our fighters. Now the moment has come when the blood may spill. That's why, understanding the responsibility for spilling Russians' blood on one of the side, we are turning back our convoys and going back to the field camps according to the plans. Just as Putin called the invasion of Ukraine a military operation, Prigozhin called the uprising against the Russian army a march for justice. With 50,000 soldiers, 25,000 regulars and 25,000 reserves marching towards Moscow. The Wagner Group has severely shaken Putin's reputation. It remains to be seen what Putin will do in the coming days as he is increasingly cornered by the Ukrainian army and betrayed by his friends. We said that Russia would never be the same again. But even though Prigozhin announced their withdrawal, social media accounts with senior exclusive of the Wagner Group made statements contrary to the Prigozhin said. The Telegram account named AP Wagner is one of these accounts. Recently, the AP Wagner Telegram account said in a post, "If you're wondering how things are going, everything is going just great. What is needed for the success? Sexes need balls. And the most promising politician has them. We will avenge everyone." While the troubles on Russian territory peaked with the uprising of the Wagner Group, the Ukrainian army's attacks on the occupied territories dealt a heavy blow to the Russian occupiers. While the uprising launched by the Wagner Group in various regions of Russia, especially in Rostov, continued, the Ukrainian army continued its attacks. Putin is becoming unable to act both in his own country and the occupied territories in Ukraine. In recent days, the Ukrainian army targeted the banks of Dnieper River, one of the critical regions in the war. The Ukrainian army deployed hundreds of troops off the left bank of the Dnieper River, forcing the Russian occupiers to retreat. The occupiers were helpless in the face of the Ukrainian troops' offensive and were forced to leave the area. Even the Deva-Mayora channel, which usually defends the Russian occupiers, could not remain silent about the recent retreats. Deva-Mayora said, "The enemy holds a small foothold on our banks for at least 3 days. The units of the Russian armed forces withdrew from area, as the constant action of enemy artillery and SOF created a threat of encirclement of our forces. They retreated with combat. Neighboring units came to rescue. As a result of fighting, the Russian armed forces suffered losses." The Dnieper River is bordered by both Russia and Ukraine, the third longest river in Europe. The Dnieper is 2,290 kilometers long. The waters of the river flow into Black Sea. All these details reveal the importance of Dnieper River. For this reason, the Ukrainian army has maintained its presence on the Dnieper since the beginning of the war, because this river is one of these access routes to Crimea. The gradual withdrawal of Russian troops from this region could herald the liberation of Crimea. As the uprising in Russia continues, another region targeted by the Ukrainian army was Seversky Donetsk Donbass. Commander of Ukraine's 3rd Special Operations Brigade, Andriy Biletsky, announced the developments in the region on his social media account. According to him, the soldiers of the 1st Mechanized Battalion of Ukraine and the 3rd Battalion of the 57 Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade of Russia clashed in the Serbsky Donbass region. The fighting was quite fierce. As a result of the successful offensive of the Ukrainian troops, the bridgehead on the western bank of the Serbsky Donetsk-Donbass Canal was completely cleared. 30 soldiers of the 57th Guard Motorized Rifle Brigade were killed and more than 50 wounded. In addition, 10 Russian soldiers were taken prisoners as a result of the attack. The developments in Russia and the occupied territories brought about many interpretations. Because the uprising of the Wagner Group had caused Putin's power to shake. Putin's reputation had also been seriously damaged after this uprising. Putin, who said from the beginning of the war that no concessions would be made to achieve the desired goal, cancelled the invasion against the Wagner Group leader after Prigozhin stopped the uprising. While the situation was interpreted as Prigozhin's making Putin accept these wishes, it was evaluated as a concession by Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Former U.S. ambassador to Russia, Michel McFaul, also drew attention to this issue with a post on his social media account. McFaul said, "Since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, analysts and officials have claimed that Putin will never back down, that he needs a face-saving win, i.e. Ukrainian territory, to end this war." Events yesterday completely undermined the assumptions. Putin talked tough in his national addresses. He sounded like someone preparing for a big fight. But when faced the difficult decision of trying to stop Wagner mercenaries with major force, he backed down. He didn't escalate. He didn't need a face-saving of ramp to declare victory. When facing the possibility of really losing to Wagner mercenaries coming into Moscow, he was capitulated. Instead of doubling down with more force to crush the immunity, Putin accepted humiliation instead. He was the rat trapped in the corner that so many Putinologists have told us to fear. But he didn't lash out and go crazy. He negotiated and been a traitor. Russian leader Vladimir Putin's negotiation with a traitor has made his position clear. The Russian authorities and the public can now see the whole truth. That is why Putin is getting more and more cornered every day. It seems that more difficult times await Putin in the coming days of the war. How do you assess the withdrawal of Wagner Group? Do you think Putin has made a deal with Prigozhin? What do you think about the Ukrainian army's offensive? We are curious about your views. Follow us for more updates.